game coming out soon called South of Midnight.
Soon.
Coming out in April, to be exact, on Game Pass. You might have heard about it. It's the newest game from Compulsion Studios. And Henry, I was lucky enough to play a little bit of it as a sneak peek preview. Thank you.
That's the booyags.
That's the boo hags, yeah.
Spooky.
We asked you guys if you wanted to know anything about the game. You provided some comments on our latest community post as of today.
I got a couple here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Got them locked and
I got
ready.
some questions of my own.
Oh!
Just saying.
Keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
So we'll go through that. We'll go through questions that you guys have asked. I'll tell you a little bit about what I experienced with the game. Henry can ask me questions about the game. And you can let us know down in the comments what you think. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first off, and I kind of need to know what exactly you did play. Like, was this the whole game that you got to preview? Was it just a little bit? What did they give you?
Yeah. So I played chapter 3 of the game, which was a lot of fun. It obviously past the introductory narrative trailer about Hazel trying to going on this journey to save her mum. So she's also discovered some magical powers. And then this is where the preview kind of picked up for me. She's now going on this journey to track down her home and her mum and be like, what's all these magic powers I got? Why can I do that now? Which is quite nice. So I played chapter 3 of that. Introduced me to the big catfish, which was exciting.
Oh, he looks so cool.
He is cool.
Yeah, I like him.
And also got to play about with a little bit of the skill tree and the skill unlocks for the weave, which is the magic ability that Hazel has and can control throughout the game.
One of the questions we did get is from Peter Legg 8781. Because you only played a little bit, I guess you can't really answer the first thing about how long the game's going to be or anything like that. But they did want to know if it felt more like an open world game or a linear game.
Great question. Thank you so much, Peter, for asking. It was, from what I played, I think it's pretty linear. There was some exploration options around the chapter that I did to go and get unlocks and collectibles. But everything was very much driven towards the objective that I was going for.
I want to know what you then managed to actually do in the game. Did you get much experience with like combat? Because throughout all of the stuff that they've shown us recently, like story trailers and little vignettes, and obviously during Developer Direct, we got really quite in-depth answers on a lot of the creative decisions they made behind why it looks a certain way and the themes of it and the inspirations of it. But combat's a big one I really want to know about. So was there much of that in this little snapshot you played?
I really liked the combat. In the preview that I played, it felt quite intentional, is probably the best way I can put it, because as I was traversing like the bayou, like swamp area of the chapter that I got to play, there was pockets of enemies that I would go into. Again, it was quite like an arena, so it felt intentional is probably the best word for it. You would
do you
come across.
prefer that, do you think, to like if they had dotted around enemies like randomly, or?
I think it suits this style of game, yeah. For sure. With the arena, it meant that once you got rid of the enemies in that area, there would maybe be some environmental effects that would open up the next section that I needed to go to.
Cool.
And it just highlighted that kind of frantic needing to deal with this situation right in front of us then and there. The enemy types that we played against, we got a look at a couple of haints, they're called. So they kind of almost remind me of like bad memories, or like they're this cool, twisted, like dark ether kind of appearance. And with Hazel, she had a few abilities that was on offer for us, and that was a push, pull, and kind of entangle action. And then you would just a regular like magic hit as well alongside that. So that was quite interesting to see how they'd balanced or almost matched her powers to an enemy's weakness, or something to take advantage of there.
So in a way, it's kind of like this, when people come to play the full game, this section that you played is probably leaning more towards a combat tutorial sort of bit, just to like get you up to speed with, here are the mechanics you need to start recognizing in enemies, and here's how you would deal with them. So it was kind of showing you how combat works, but maybe not giving you like the full taste of what's to come later on in the game, when we probably do see more boss fights or more difficult enemies pop up, I suppose.
I think you're so right. I think that's totally fair. It was quite obvious to see from the skill tree that there was only the top layer of every ability unlocked for me. I was able to go around and you collect things called floofs, which is such a cute name to begin with.
I like
floofs.
it. Everything else in this game looking like twisted, corrupted, and awful, but then we've also got floofs. Yeah.
Floofies. So floofs, they were dotted around the map, and it was fun because you kind of had to, most of the time, there was extra ones to be gained by going. At one point, I literally just turned around when the game was clearly telling me to go forward. I turned around, and there was a hidden, concealed a area like to the side, and there was a bunch of floofs, like the XP gaining thing, currency that I gained and then was able to unlock a skill from, which was cool.
So despite being linear, there are those opportunities for people to explore a little down, off the beaten path a bit, and maybe find some other things, currency to upgrade Hazel's abilities and whatnot. How would you say, this is a question from Lawal Mohammed, how does the combat compare though to other action games? You did mention you like your Souls-likes, but does there feel like any similarities that you could maybe liken it to, or?
It's hard to, it just feels so unique that it feels like quite hard to compare or, say something quite similar, because it's got elements of a bunch of amazing games, but it feels packaged really nicely and uniquely that it's like, tough to tell. It's, it's not Souls-like in the way that if you die, you lose your, XP or anything. It does have a little bit of a punishment to it where you lose a tiny little bit of your health if you die. Or if you like Jedi Fallen Order, when you fall off the cliff, you get a little bit of a health reduction.
Sure.
So I kept falling in the water all over the place.
Oh dear. There's a lot of that in the bayou.
Yeah. And it has a parry system, again, countering those enemies or exploiting their weaknesses.
Ah, nice. So it's not just like...
Similar to Souls, I guess.
You're not totally at the mercy of your enemies. You can react to their attacks as well, just as much as you can then dodge them if you need to. What
I liked as well about the combat is it was very fluid and fast-paced, the way... So it was concentrated in these areas, but when you're in those fighting arenas, I'm so upset that we didn't get to do a boss fight or anything, because I would love to see what a bigger, stronger enemy looks like. You had to be quite on it with the combat, well, I did, because of the cooldown systems for Hazel's abilities, for using those the best placed that can be, and learning different enemy reactions, because you would have a couple of different enemy types in the arena at once, dealing with all those different ways that they're looking to hurt you, or ways again that you need to counter them. So it was really good. It was really, you had to think about things. You couldn't just like go in and spam stuff and then that was it. Like the game would make sure that you're paying attention.
It also sounds a bit like the fact that her abilities grow, the more you can spend on her with the floofs, that maybe it's opening up some kind of Metroidvania kind of vibes to it as well. Like if you could glide longer or double jump higher or whatever, that maybe there's some level design stuff as well that will come up later in the game, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, you're so right.
Like to play the full thing.
There was a couple of areas in that we saw did reveal themselves to it, so I'm not too sure how much that'll be like replayed in that way, but you're right, I needed to unlock certain bits to then go and reach secret areas and stuff.
Nice. Visually, the game obviously already, in my opinion, looks it's very stylistic. It's beautiful. I love stop motion animation, but I know some people online, they've been wondering, like, is there a way to tone that down at all? Because for some people, having like quite framey movement can often play with like motion sickness for them. So are there any toggles like or other accessibility options in the game that seem pretty useful for people like that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was playing it in just the standard as it comes settings, it felt extremely smooth. It was super smooth, especially during like gliding or hazel traversal movements. It did feel really smooth. That being said, there is the option in the menus to turn off this stop motion effect if it's not really your bag. But to me, I just thought it added rather than made anything more distracting or stuttering. The environment itself, the art was absolutely breathtaking. Like some of the lighting effects and staging that they showed through the level I played was really nice. Absolutely gorgeous. I would just stop and look at it for a little bit.
Soak it in.
Yeah. And especially, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I'm not too much of an art critic, but it's like, what is it, like almost cell shaded, but they have this really cool like shadow effect, or the way that the art team have played with the colors as well as the shading and the almost texture of the characters looks really sick as well. That's one of my favorite things. The bunnies are adorable in this way. And I found some snapping turtles as well. They were cool.
Nice.
But
dangerous though.
Yeah. I was wondering if they were gonna bite me. They didn't, thankfully. They didn't snap. But yeah. Absolutely gorgeous game.
Jumping back to more of the like performance of the game, like tech specs and all that. I had a question from the community, and by the way, if you have more questions and we didn't get to answer any of them in this video, drop them in the comments because Bex can obviously go through them and see if there's any extra answers that she can give you guys. And for any other like gameplay previews or hands-on that we do, we'll always post in that community section asking for what you guys want to know about the game, because we want to make sure we can get as much info that you're interested in as possible. So anyway, this next question, it'll be the last one I got from the community, is from the Real Evo 88. They wanted to know if it was 60 FPS on Series S, because the game looks incredible, to be honest, and I'm guessing they want to see it in 60 FPS, which I agree would be cool. So yeah, do you know what like the general tech specs for all the consoles will be?
So I played on the Series X, and the preview build that I played that's still in development, that was super smooth 60. It was completely, there wasn't any drops at all from my experience of the short preview build I played. Compulsion have said that they are targeting 1080p 60 on Series S.
Nice.
So yeah,
there you go. Real Evo
should be good.
Series S 60 FPS. That's the plan.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about and I've not played too much of the games before, the previous games, but I have played a little bit of both of Compulsion's previous titles, Contrast and We Happy Few, because I think what makes Compulsion so cool as a studio or interesting is that they take these really almost niche pieces of or niche targets and build a game around it. Or a really fun idea or mechanic and stuff. So in Contrast, you get to play between different dimensions with your character and shining a light and becoming shadows and stuff. We Happy Few, there's a lot of psychedelical elements and not everything seems as it is. And then in South of Midnight, from what I've experienced, they're playing on this idea that magic is part of a huge tapestry, a weave is what they literally name it. And it was really fun. I got like a tiny little taste of it, but I think it's going to be really good fun to see what other fun game mechanics they use to display something that I would never think of in 100 years time or whatever. A really creative way to experience something new. And I think that's what is really important with games like this, is it's just something so fresh and different from anything that I've ever played so far.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if anyone else could make this game, Compulsion Games wouldn't be making it. That's what they love to do.
Final thoughts. Combat, really fun. Different. And had to be more methodical, maybe could be punishing if you didn't be good. So just be good.
Just get good.
Narrative, super interested, like what we just said, to explore a whole other world that I've no clue about and experience something completely new and different.
Big catfish.
Big catfish. Art, stunning. Don't need to say anything more. Do go and check out Compulsion's YouTube channel because they have some dev diaries about this game as well as their previous games. But I mean, South of Midnight. If you want to learn more about that side of thing, I think that's interesting too. But what you just said, Henry, I've played across my 29 years, hundreds, if not maybe thousands of games.
Hundreds of thousands of games.
No, that's not what I just said.
Oh, right, sorry.
Hundreds, maybe thousands,
yeah.
maybe, of games. And I have not so far played a game like this. And I really like that. And I think if you're looking for a new, fresh game to check out, then South of Midnight could be a really fun, really strong story game for you to dip into and check out a whole new world.
Plus, you don't have to wait that long to play it.
Yes, April 8th. Day 1 on PC Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate. Be sure to let us know what you're thinking from what I've chatted about just now. Maybe tune into our Twitch, have a wee yap with us as well.
Yeah.
And be sure to subscribe because we've got loads of content coming for some other great games as well as more on South of Midnight. So don't go anywhere. Love you. Mwah.
Oh.